Growing up, I was taught that in order to be successful, you need to do well in school, get super good grades, and then go into a fancy college, and then get a job that will eventually pay you enough so that you will eventually become a millionaire. And you probably heard that same thing growing up too. But the truth is, the richest people out there aren't necessarily the ones who are smarter than you or me. And in fact, there are tons of people who are dumber than you who are making millions of dollars. And this made me ask myself, how are they so successful? Because I'll be one of the guys who spend a lot of time studying and getting good grades at school, whereas these other guys slacked off and played video games the whole time. Yet here they are, making millions of dollars. But instead of that making me sad or bitter, it actually motivated me because I realized that if they could do it, then so could I. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the people who are doing really well financially, even though they didn't excel academically, and what they are doing differently. By watching this video all the way to the end, you're going to learn their secrets to success and how you can do it too. But first, let me share a quick story. In college, I studied electrical engineering, and in my fraternity, there were several guys who were also in my same major. Now it was cool because we could all take classes together, but it felt like I was the only one taking school seriously. Now while I was studying and focusing, a lot of my friends were partying, sleeping in class, and copying my homework, and then bombing all the tests. And then by some miracle, they were still able to graduate with a 2.0 GPA. But years down the road, they somehow ended up making way more money than me. And after graduating, I landed a full-time job in the defense industry, and it paid me an okay salary, but it wasn't anything life-changing. Meanwhile, one of my friends who practically failed all his classes took over his dad's small electrical contracting business, and within a few years, he turned it into a multi-million-dollar business, doing contracting work for offices and schools. And it didn't really make sense to me at first. How was he, someone who barely got by in college, making more money than me? But then I realized that he wasn't the only one. Another friend who was an art major struggled to even find a job at the college. She was in a very tough spot, and it led her into a pretty deep depression. But from that tough time, something miraculous occurred. She started doodling and writing down her goals on a daily basis, and that eventually led to her creating a planner. And this planner blew up on Kickstarter, and now she's making millions of dollars a year selling her planners online. And the more I looked around, the more I started to ask myself, what is their secret? How are they so successful despite not being smart by academic standards? Now, before we dive into why these dumber people are making millions of dollars, we need to also talk about what's holding the smart people back. And it all starts with the limiting beliefs that we've been taught. Now, one of the biggest limiting beliefs is that thinking that having a college degree will automatically make you wealthy. According to a report by the Georgetown University Center, roughly 16% of high school graduates earn more than half of workers with a bachelor's degree. So you see, getting a degree doesn't guarantee that you're going to be wealthy. And then sure, on average, people with degrees will earn more than those without. But it also depends on your major and how you apply what you've learned. So for example, if you majored in something like English, political science, or music, you're likely not going to be able to make a lot of money right out of college. And if you took on a lot of student loans to get into college, then it makes things even worse. So imagine graduating with $100,000 in debt and then landing a job that only pays you $50,000 a year. The numbers just don't add up. And there's something more important that you need to consider. Even having a degree from a prestigious school doesn't guarantee a high-paying job. Sure, it can help open doors, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to get the best paycheck. I've seen people who've went to state schools working in the same companies from people who graduate from Ivy League schools. So take my sister-in-law for example. She went to a lower ranking law school, but she now works at the same firm as people who graduate from Harvard Law. But because she went to this lower tier school, she graduated debt-free because she got financial aid for going to this lower tier school in the first place. Whereas her colleagues are swimming and saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So while having a degree from a top university might open some doors, it does not guarantee that you're going to be wealthy. And for many, the next logical step is to pursue more education, thinking that will lead to even more money. But that's where a lot of people also run into trouble. So the next limiting belief is that getting more education, whether it's a master's degree, a PhD, a law school degree, guarantees that you're going to have higher earnings. Now, people assume that the more time you spend in school, the bigger your paycheck will be. But here's what most people don't even think about. What if all that extra schooling doesn't actually pay off the way you think? Not only are you investing more money into getting that degree, but you're also losing out on years of earning potential. So for example, let's say you could land a job paying $75,000 right out of college, but you decide to go for a master's degree that costs you $20,000. So after you're done with the degree, you're not just down to $20,000 of tuition, but you've also missed out on $75,000 in income for that year. So now, start taking 1 year to do this one master's program, you're actually $95,000 in the hole. And what about those who go for a PhD? Sure, they might give you a small stipend to continue studying and working there, but you're still spending 5 more years earning less than what you would with a full-time job. Now, I experienced something similar like this myself. When I was an intern, I was making $69,000 a year. After getting my bachelor's degree, that went up to $72,000. After earning my master's, my salary only increased to $74,000. So that's not a huge jump at all for all that extra schooling. So getting more education doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna make more money, and it may not be something that is worth your time. In fact, it can even leave you with more debt and less time to earn. But for those who do get a degree and land a steady job, there's another trap that they also fall into. And that is that a lot of people think that if you just stick to a steady, full-time job, you will eventually become wealthy. Now it sounds simple. Show up, work hard, and over time, you're gonna be rewarded with promotions and raises. But here's the problem. A full-time job can actually hold you back. Even if you're doing great work, the company policies can actually limit how much you're making. And you might be waiting for that promotion or raise, but it doesn't always come just because you're working hard. In fact, the more work that you do, the more likely you are to just get more work, not necessarily more money. And if you stay in one job for too long, then you're usually locked into a slow path for salary increases. So what's the alternative? Well, one of the fastest ways to increase your pay is to switch jobs. When you switch companies, you can usually negotiate a higher salary. And this is something they don't really teach you, but it's one of the easiest ways to get paid more. So now that we've gone over what holds people back, let's talk about what these dumber people are doing that helps them get ahead, and it's actually a lot simpler than you might think. So the big secret is that dumb people understand that time is the most valuable resource. Now hear me out. If you can separate the money you make from the time that you spend working, then the potential is endless. You don't need to go to school and work at a job where you get paid based on the hours that you put in. Instead, these people start businesses, side hustles, or get into industries where the money that they make isn't tied to their time, like sales. So for example, in real estate, you make money by closing deals, not by punching a clock. If you sell $1 million property, you can make $25,000 right there. Sell 4 houses like that, and you're already earning 6 figures for a full year. In some other industries like law, some lawyers take cases on consignment, where they take 1/3 of the judgment. So that means that if they win the case that worth millions of dollars, then they walk away with 1/3 of that, or $333,000 from one deal. And when I was working as a hard money lender on hard money loans, I made a percentage of every loan that I processed. So the more loans I did, the more money I made. So it wasn't necessarily about how many hours I worked, it was about the results. So right now, I'm not even working in the field I studied for. I have a master's degree in electrical engineering, but I make way more money now than I ever did back then. And the reason is simple. I've separated making money with my time. I'm making passive income through my real estate investments that pay me every single month, whether I'm working on them or not. And that's the real secret. It's not about being the smartest person in the room, but finding ways to make money that don't depend on your time. And these so-called dumb people understand that they need to take risks and get into fields with uncapped earning potential, where their efforts pay off way more than just their time on it. And now, they're living lives that most people are dreaming about. So if you're feeling down because you didn't get to the college you expected, or maybe you didn't do so well in school, the good news is, it's not the end of the world for you. And it doesn't mean you can't be financially successful. In fact, a lot of the wealthiest people in the world didn't follow the traditional path at all. And the truth is, it's not about how smart you are academically, but how smart you are with your time, your decisions, and the risks you're willing to take. You gotta be open to new ideas, be good at working with people, and find ways to make money that isn't tied to the hours that you work. And if you're someone who did get that higher degree, don't worry, it's not over for you either. You actually have a huge advantage, because now you can combine your education with these same principles to potentially get even further ahead than those who didn't even go to school. So no matter where you are right now, you can start taking action. Focus on separating your time from your money and get into high earning fields. And don't be afraid to take risks. You got this. And now that you know how these so-called dumb people are making millions of dollars, you might be wondering, why are most people still stuck and struggling? So go ahead and check out this video where I show you the #1 reason why people stay poor and how to avoid it. Thanks for watching, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.